She called me from the port. Her cruise had already left without her. Not because she was late, because the ship had changed its entire itinerary the night before, and nobody had called her. The port they were supposed to depart from was closed, a tropical storm, August. She had saved for 3 years for that cruise. I'm not telling you this story to scare you. I'm telling you this because it almost happened to me, and because in 15 years of following the cruise industry, I've seen it happen to more people than I can count. People who did everything right, who researched the ship, compared the cabins, read every review, and still ended up blindsided by one single thing nobody warned them about: the month they chose. That's it. That one decision changes everything. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly which months destroy each destination and which months nobody talks about that are secretly the best time to go. But before I get to that, I need to tell you something the cruise lines really don't want you to know. I'll get to it at the end, and I promise it'll change how you book forever. Before we continue, my name is Ben, and we just launched this channel for people looking for all the tips and tricks for cruising. Our goal is simple: to give you all the tips and tricks no one else talks about. If you'd like to support us and help us create better videos, please subscribe. It's free and it helps us out more than you think. Let's get started. The same ship, the same cabin, the same islands, a completely different vacation. The only variable, the month you sail. I want to be upfront with you. A few years ago, I made the exact mistake I'm about to warn you about. I booked a Mediterranean cruise in August, peak summer, because the timing worked with my schedule. I'd read the reviews, I'd watched the videos. Nobody mentioned what July and August actually feel like on those cobblestone streets. I came back from that trip tired, overheated, and a little cheated. The cruise was fine. The destinations were stunning, but the experience was nothing like what I'd expected. That frustration is why I spent the next 18 months researching cruise timing across every major destination, and it's why I'm making this video. This isn't a list I copied from somewhere. This is what I wish someone had told me before I wasted a significant amount of money on bad timing. Part 1. The Caribbean Trap. The worst months, August and September. Let's start with the destination that traps the most people, the Caribbean, the most popular cruise region in the world, and also the one with the most preventable disasters. August and September. On paper, they look fine. Summer vacation, warm weather, the kids are off school. Makes sense, right? Here's what I need you to understand first. Cruise lines don't sell you a cruise to a specific set of ports. They sell you a cruise to a general region. The fine print, which almost nobody reads before they book, contains a clause that most people only discover when it's too late. I'll show you exactly what it says in a moment. But first, let me tell you about a couple from Ohio. They booked a 10-night Caribbean cruise last September. Blue skies in the brochure, turquoise water, white sand beaches. They'd been planning it for 2 years. What they got: 4 sea days, 2 port cancellations, and swells rough enough that one of them spent most of 2 days in their cabin with seasickness. 3,000 passengers on a major cruise ship, and when they asked for a refund on the missed ports, the answer was no. And legally, the cruise line was perfectly correct. Here's the clause: cruise lines can modify or cancel port stops at any time, for any reason, including weather and operational decisions, without issuing refunds. The ports you booked, the excursions you paid for months in advance, gone. And if you push back, they'll point you to page 14 of the contract you accepted when you clicked Confirm Booking. And hurricane season isn't just about storms. Even without a named hurricane, the heat alone in August can be crushing. Mid-90s, humidity so thick you feel it the moment the gangway lowers. Stepping off in St. Martin in August feels like walking into a steam room that someone forgot to turn off. The beaches that look electric blue in photos feel gray and oppressive when you're standing there at 10 a.m. Now, there is one specific thing about Caribbean timing that almost nobody talks about, something that can completely change the math. I'm going to get to it, but I want to walk you through the other destinations first because it actually connects to something bigger. The sweet spot, December through April. December through April is when the Caribbean becomes what it looks like in those brochures: lower humidity, steady trade winds off the Atlantic, calm, clear water in every shade of blue, port days that actually happen. January and February are the hidden gems. The holiday crowds are gone. Hurricane risk is statistically as low as it gets, and pricing often lower than December because the post-holiday demand drops while the weather stays identical. Insider tip: boarding from an East Coast port, New York, Baltimore, Boston, book the largest ship available even in winter. The open Atlantic before you reach the Caribbean can get rough in January, and hull size makes a real comfort difference. Before we get to the Mediterranean, I need to stop and say something that most cruise content creators won't tell you. The cruise industry makes more money when you book the wrong months. Think about it. When ships have low demand, August in the Caribbean, July in the Mediterranean, they don't lower their prices enough to reflect the risk. They run promotions, kids sail free, free beverage package. They fill the ship, and they know statistically that a percentage of those cruises will have itinerary changes. They've priced for it. You haven't. The travelers who consistently get the best cruise experiences aren't the ones who spend the most. They're the ones who book when the cruise lines least want them to. Shoulder season, right after the rush. I'll show you exactly when that is for every destination we cover today. Keep watching. Part 2: The Mediterranean Crowd Problem. The worst months, July and August. The Mediterranean is different. This isn't about dangerous weather. This is about something that, in some ways, is worse because it can't be refunded and it isn't in any contract. It's the feeling of arriving somewhere you've dreamed about your entire life and realizing the dream is surrounded by 10,000 other people having the same dream at the same time. Your ship docks in Santorin at 8 a.m. Beautiful morning. You look out and count 3 other cruise ships already anchored. By the time you get ashore, the old white and blue streets are packed shoulder to shoulder. The viewpoints you've seen in every photo have lines. Not short lines, lines that move like a slow river, with people holding phones above their heads trying to get the shot. By midday, the temperature hits the low 90s and the pavement starts radiating heat. You're walking miles in dress shoes on ancient stone. You have 4 hours in a place that deserves 4 days. And by the time you get back on board, you're exhausted, a little sunburned, and I'm going to say the word, disappointed. Rome, Athens, Dubrovnik, Barcelona. These cities regularly push into the high 80s and 90s in July and August. And here's something most people don't realize until they've done it. Mediterranean port days are not leisure days. They are walking tours. Miles of cobblestone and pavement and stairs, in heat, with a deadline. The cruise ship leaves at 6 p.m. whether you're exhausted or not.
Also avoid November through February. Winter on the Mediterranean is a different kind of letdown. Gray skies, cold rain, charming little port towns that feel half closed for the season. Some restaurants and shops, especially on smaller islands, literally shut down between November and March. The atmosphere people travel to Europe for goes quiet. The sweet spot, May, June, and September. September is the insider's secret. Warm water at its annual peak, crowds dramatically reduced. The same ship, same ports, same itinerary, and prices that can be 20 to 30% lower than the identical cruise in July or August. May and June offer the fresh energy of early season. Locals in good moods, restaurants fully staffed, shorter lines everywhere. And the light in early June on the Greek islands is extraordinary. Long golden evenings that make every photograph look professional. The short version, if the Mediterranean is your dream, September is the move. Better in almost every measurable way than summer. The only thing you lose is the crowd, and that's not a loss. Everything I've told you so far has been about avoiding bad months. I need to flip that now, because there's a category of mistake that's actually worse: booking the right month at the wrong destination. Alaska and New England are 2 of the most visually spectacular cruise destinations in America, and they're also the 2 where I see the most heartbreak. Not because people chose bad months, but because they chose months that looked fine on a calendar and missed the entire point of the trip. 1 week too early, 1 week too late. Same price, completely different experience. This is where cruise timing stops being about weather and starts being about something harder to recover from. Showing up for a once-in-a-lifetime trip and feeling like you just barely missed it. Let me show you exactly how this happens. Part 3, the Alaska timing mistake. The worst month? October. Alaska is a bucket list cruise, and because it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip for many people, sometimes literally planned for decades, choosing the wrong month doesn't just waste money, it creates a specific, quiet kind of regret that's hard to shake. I want to tell you about someone I'll call Richard, retired, former teacher. He'd been talking about an Alaska cruise since 1996. His wife was the one who finally pushed him to book it. They saved specifically for it. They chose October because the price was lower and it worked around a family event in September. He called me after the trip. He wasn't angry, he was just quiet. He said, the mountains were there, the glaciers were there, but it felt like showing up to a concert after the headliner left. Here's what October takes away from an Alaska cruise. The salmon run is over. The bears have moved deeper into the forest to prepare for winter. The humpback whales that feed in Alaska's waters all summer have already begun migrating south. The dramatic evening light, that incredible 9 or 10 p.m. golden sky that makes Alaska look like a painting, is gone. Rain moves in, fog settles over the fjords, and here's the excursion problem. Almost every Alaska activity happens outdoors. That helicopter glacier tour you booked 6 months ago? Canceled. Weather. The whale watching? Delayed, possibly scrubbed. The bear viewing trip along the shoreline? Unavailable. October can wipe out the entire excursion list. Richard is going back in August. He said he doesn't care what it costs. He needs to see it the right way. The sweet spot, June through early September. Late August into early September is the insider's Alaska window. Fewer crowds than peak July, the first hints of fall color on the hillsides, prices that are slightly lower than peak summer, and still full wildlife. Whales, bears, eagles, everything. Critical note, book excursions before you board. The best whale watching and glacier tours sell out 3 to 4 months in advance. This is not an exaggeration. Part 4, Mexico. 3 months, 3 problems. Avoid August and September. Same hurricane risk as the Caribbean, itinerary changes, rough seas, and the heat in Cozumel in August is a specific kind of brutal. The air feels thick before you've even walked 100 yards from the dock. Avoid April. This one surprises people. This is the timing mistake I hear about most from travelers in their 60s. You book a Mexico cruise expecting a relaxed, peaceful trip. Calm, a little sun, some good food, a cenote tour, maybe a beach day. You board, and it's spring break. The pool deck is 3 deep at 9 a.m. Music runs till midnight. The bars look like they're hosting an event you weren't invited to. It's energetic, it's fun if you're 22. If you're not, and most of you watching this aren't, it is a specific kind of exhausting that no amount of balcony time can fix. The sweet spot, November through March. Comfortable temperatures, calm water, ports at their most manageable. This is the version of a Mexico cruise that matches what people expect when they book. November and early March in particular offer beautiful weather with crowds that are genuinely pleasant rather than overwhelming. Part 5, New England and Canada, a 2-week window. Avoid August and November. New England and Canada cruises are built entirely around one thing, fall foliage. The hillsides of Maine, the harbor towns of Nova Scotia, the rivers of New Brunswick. In late September and early October, they turn into some of the most extraordinary scenery in North America. August, and you'll see green. Beautiful, but that's not why people take this cruise. August also carries tail-end hurricane season roughness on the open Atlantic. November is worse. The leaves are gone, the towns are cold and quiet, and the postcard version of this trip has effectively closed for the season. The sweet spot, late September to early October. This is one of the most precise seasonal windows in all of cruise travel. You are aiming for a specific 10 to 14-day period when the foliage peaks across the region. Book even 2 weeks outside that window and you miss it completely. Pro move, book a north to south itinerary starting in Quebec City and ending near Boston. You're literally sailing with the changing season. The colors peak earlier in the north and later in the south, so a properly timed north to south route gives you brilliant foliage almost the entire voyage.
Part 6, Norwegian Fjords, the daylight equation. Avoid October through April. Norway is visually unlike anywhere else on Earth. The fjords, the cliffs dropping straight into black water, the waterfalls, there is genuinely nothing comparable in cruise travel. But timing here isn't about weather or crowds, it's about something more fundamental, light. From October onward, daylight disappears fast in Norway. By midwinter, the sun sets in early afternoon. You can be sailing through some of the most spectacular scenery on the planet and literally not be able to see it. The waterfalls slow to a trickle. The villages along the fjords close for the season. Even the drama of the cliffs is muted under gray sky and early darkness. The sweet spot, June through early August. Summer in Norway operates by different rules than anywhere else you've ever traveled. The midnight sun means light that stretches past 11 p.m. At 10:30 at night, the sky glows amber and gold over the water, while waterfalls crash down the cliffs. It is surreal in a way that's difficult to communicate until you've experienced it. Strong recommendation: book a balcony cabin for this cruise, even if it means stretching the budget. Norway's greatest moments happen late at night when the other passengers are asleep and you are alone with the fjords and the light. A private balcony at 11 p.m. is one of the genuinely irreplaceable experiences in all of cruise travel. Part 7. European River Cruises. When it becomes a bus tour. Avoid deep winter and peak summer heat. European river cruises are elegant, intimate, and one of the best travel experiences available, when conditions cooperate. 2 timing mistakes can turn that experience into something completely unrecognizable. Deep winter after Christmas. The festive atmosphere is gone, riverside towns feel dormant, and the cozy version of European river cruising you imagined mostly doesn't exist in January and February. But here is the risk almost nobody knows about. In recent summers, extreme European heat waves have caused water levels on the Rhine and Danube to drop below safe operating levels. When that happens, your cruise converts to bus transfers, without warning. You paid for a 7-night river cruise through Europe, and you find yourself watching the scenery through the window of a motor coach because the ship literally cannot continue the route. This happened to thousands of travelers in back-to-back recent summers. The sweet spot: late November through mid-December. Christmas market season turns European river cruises into something magical. Vienna, Budapest, Cologne, Strasbourg, wooden market stalls, glowing lights over medieval streets, mulled wine, roasted chestnuts. It genuinely feels less like a vacation and more like stepping inside a Christmas movie. Practical note: bring your most comfortable walking shoes, not your most elegant ones. The best parts of Christmas market cruises happen on foot for hours on cobblestone streets that are beautiful and completely unforgiving. Remember the woman I told you about at the very beginning? The one who called me from the port after her August cruise left without her? She rebooked. Same destination, same ship class. January. She called me after that one too. She said, "It was everything I thought the first trip was going to be." Here's what the cruise lines don't want you to know, and why they'll never put it in a brochure. Shoulder season, the months just outside peak demand, is where the best cruise experiences live. The ships are less crowded, the staff less stretched, the ports less overwhelmed, the prices more honest. The cruise industry is built on filling ships at maximum capacity. They need peak summer. They need August in the Caribbean and July in the Mediterranean. They market those months hard because they need your seat. The shoulder season traveler is their least profitable customer and their most satisfied one. And that Caribbean secret I mentioned, here it is. January into mid-February, departing from Florida ports specifically, not East Coast, is the single most underrated window in all of cruise travel. Perfect weather, post-holiday pricing, no spring break, no hurricane risk, ships at 70% capacity. It is the version of a Caribbean cruise that makes people book again the following year. The destination hasn't changed, the ship hasn't changed, the price is sometimes even lower. The only variable is when you go. Now you know what they don't tell you. Use it. If this saved you from a bad booking, share it. Someone you know is planning a cruise right now and has no idea about any of this. In my next video, I'm going to show you the exact week-by-week pricing patterns cruise lines use and how to find the same cabin for 40% less without any tricks. Subscribe so you don't miss it.